Over the past few weeks, we've been talking about confidence, self-doubt, imposter syndrome, and the hidden patterns that keep so many brilliant women in senior leadership playing smaller than they're actually capable of. And one of the biggest objections I hear from women is this: Lucy, this all sounds great in theory, but is it actually possible to have a successful career, to accelerate your success and be present at home and still enjoy your life? And today's episode answers that question. Because you're about to hear from Suzanne Sheridan, one of my long-term clients and friends, a vice president of commercial operations, a mom of two, and a leader of a team of more than 500 people across multiple countries in a Fortune 500. Now, when Suzanne and I first started working together almost 4 years ago, like many women in senior leadership, she was carrying an enormous amount of responsibility and pressure both at work and at home. And what I absolutely love about Suzanne's story is it proves something that I believe deeply, is that success does not have to come at the expense of your well-being. You don't have to choose between your career and your family and your personal interests. You do not need to spend your entire life in survival mode. And as you listen to this conversation, I really invite you to pay attention to what's changed for Suzanne, not just what she's achieved, and she's achieved a lot, but how she thinks, how she leads, what tools she's been using, what support she sought, how she feels in herself, because that is where the real transformation happens. So I can't wait for you to meet her. Here she goes. This is the Lucy Gernon Show, a raw, unfiltered and candid podcast where ambitious women in leadership and entrepreneurship come each week for inspiration, a good old laugh and real relatable stories. Each week we'll be diving into life hacks, leadership tips and the hilarious side of current affairs and being a woman in female leadership in the business world. You can expect a mix of laugh out loud conversations, real talk with top business minds and solo episodes with yours truly that blend psychology, storytelling with practical tools and actionable strategies to support you to succeed in leadership and in life. So if you're an ambitious woman looking to grow, laugh and get a little bit more confident along the way, you are definitely in the right place. Can you really lead at senior level and also have time for the things that are most important to you in life? That's exactly what we are going to be discussing today. I am delighted to be joined by the incredible Suzanne Sheridan, who has been a long-term client and friend. And she has really broken through that glass ceiling in terms of showing women in leadership that you can absolutely have a tremendously successful career at senior level while also being present with your family. So today we're going to be diving into Suzanne's secrets as to how she's been managing it all, and also sharing her experience in working with me in 360 Leaders Club and how that has played a role in her transformation as well. So Suzanne, thank you for being here with me today.
Thank you so much, Lucy. It's so good to be here. Always good to talk to you.
Oh my God. So let's just get into it. We are streaming live right now on LinkedIn and I'm hoping on Instagram as well. And you might even be listening to this on a replay somewhere. So if you are, everybody is welcome here. If you are watching live, if you can just comment into the chat, I'll try and keep an eye on the chat and let me know, if you have any questions for Suzanne, or if anything comes up afterwards, you can pop them below as well. And myself or Suzanne will do our best to answer anything from you. So Suzanne, do you want to introduce yourself to everybody here today? And then we'll jump into the story.
Sure. So my name is Suzanne Sheridan. I am a mom of two girls. So Cara is 9, Erin is 6. And I'm a wife. I am a friend, sister, daughter, all the different roles. And I'm also the vice president of commercial operations for the distribution business of Thermo Fisher Scientific, based in Ireland. I moved back here it's 3.5 years ago now. It's crazy. It's gone really quick, but I moved back from the States. I spent quite a bit of time working over in the States and moved back. And I now lead an incredibly talented team of 500 team members. And we have responsibility for Europe, Middle East and Africa. So that's me.
So you're not a bit busy then? No, sounds like it's a breeze. Like you didn't just arrive back from on a flight an hour and a half ago.
I did just arrive back an hour and a half ago to my email's broken and my team's broken. But you know what? It's all good.
It's
we'll
all
figure
good.
it
We're
out.
here together. So thank you for being here. And for anyone watching who doesn't know me, my name is Lucy Gernon. I am an executive coach and founder of 360 Leaders Club, a professional development membership for women in senior leadership like Suzanne and lots of you are watching who want to lead with confidence without actually sacrificing yourself and, really accelerate your career without self-sacrifice, which is what we're going to talk about today. So Suzanne, let's start with your story. The first time we met, I distinctly remember us being on a call and you were in the US at the time and, you were feeling burned out. Let's go back to that point as to where you were maybe three and a half, 4 years ago.
So I was living in the US, and COVID had hit, and we made a decision as a family that we were going to move back. We wanted to move back to Europe, and I was looking for roles to basically get the family back to Europe. And I took a role, but I also had to, sell our house. We had to get the kids sorted with new schools, and the role was on the European time zone. So I was living in the US, and I thought I was superwoman, and I could get up at 2 or 3 every morning, work on European time zone, and then continue to work until 5 p.m. US time. And I did that for 6 months, and I just got to a point. It was a new job. There was so much going on in our personal life with getting like everything organized to move back and moving. If anyone has moved from overseas, it's a process. It's quite intensive anyway. And when you're trying to learn a new job, a new team, and work in a different time zone, and think you're superwoman, it just all came crashing down. So I really felt that I I couldn't do it all. I, I kept saying, well, when this happens, it'll be fine and I'll get balance again. But that never happened. And my final tipping point was, I said, well, when I'm on the right time zone, right, when I'm back in Europe and I'm on the right time zone, then I'll have the balance that I want, and everything will be fine. But that didn't happen. We moved back, and I just felt like completely overwhelmed, not myself, and I needed to do something different, which is when I reached out to you for the second time, which was when I realized that actually moving back was not the answer, and I
Mm.
needed some additional support.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that. And, I'm curious to understand, you said that, obviously you were literally working on a different time zone. You were in the middle of moving your family halfway across the world. You were, embedding into a new role, all of the things. So it was very obvious. Obviously at the time it made sense to wait and just be like, well, obviously this is an atypical time. I'm going to be able to manage it. But then I'm also hearing then when you got back into the time zone and when everything should have been fine, it wasn't. So what was missing for you?
I think for me, I didn't have the tools that I needed to really put structure in my life that would protect what was really important to me. And I had to do a ton of work, right? So, I mean, when we started working together, which was July 2023, was it
Yeah.
2023?
Hmm.
Yeah, 20,
Or 22. What year are we now? I
22
don't even know.
actually. No,
Yeah.
it was 22. When we started working together, I mean, I really had to go back to the basics and say, well, why do I think I need to put in these hours? Like, why do I think it's necessary to work 16-hour days? Is that in line with who I want to be? Is that in line with who I want my kids to see me to be? So I had to really, first of all, the first thing I did was um, look at my values and really determine, well, what is the most important things to me? And ultimately, that is my family. And I was not spending any time with them, so I was just totally misaligned with what was important to me. Um, and it made me also think about, like, do I need to make a different career decision? Like, because to your point, I actually thought, you know what, maybe it's not possible to accelerate my career and be a good mom and be a good friend and be a good wife. And I mean, I'm certainly not good at all of that all of the time, but there is a way. I know now there's a way that you can actually do all of the things that you want. You just have to be really strategic in how you do it.
Yeah. Oh my God, I love that. And I think that's a big thing that I would see as well with loads of women. And the only reason I know is because I was that person. This is the thing is that I think it's when you experience something yourself and then you see the light like you did and I did, it's like, okay, you can absolutely do it. But when you're in your own little bubble and you're on the hamster wheel and you can only see, it's nearly like I always say, I feel like for me, I was when I was in corporate a lot of the time, I was kind of brainwashed by the energy around me and like buying into other people's urgency, feeling like everything is important because I was afraid to say no because I didn't want to disappoint people and all of those things. Like, but I think once one thing that changed my life was, and I know that we talk about it a lot in 360 as well, is the whole results focused thinking, like applying Pareto's law and actually focusing on the things that are going to move the needle. Because if you're working, any of us are working 16-hour days, there's no way you're adding value for that time. So when you talk about tools that you use to get more strategic and intentional, what kind of tools or tips did you use?
So, I mean, the first thing, I'm actually now super structured, and that's intentional. So I'm very focused on my goals. I remember someone that I used to work with, he's retired, and I always ask people that are retiring, I feel like you've got a different kind of perspective when you're retiring. I said, give me some advice, right? I'm not close to retirement, but give me some advice. And he said, just make sure that you don't sleepwalk through life. And I think it's super easy to sleepwalk through life if you don't get incredibly intentional about your goals. So I do quarterly goal setting, I do annual goal setting, I do weekly goal setting, and I don't just react to my calendar. So I'm the one who controls my schedule. I schedule my priorities. Um, the other thing that I've shifted a lot is I actually thought that success was measured on activity, and it's absolutely not. It's measured on results. And I have got more balance in my life than ever, and I'm achieving more than ever. I'm getting better results than ever while actually working less. So I think it's all around, if you focus on the results, if you're really strategic with your time, if you're very clear on your boundaries, like I'm very clear on my boundaries as well. And the other important thing, which it really hit home this year, and I'll tell you why, is around perfectionism. So like most successful women, total perfectionist. And I've had to really, really let that go. And a good example of it was, we just had our annual sales meeting the week before last, and the old Suzanne would have spent days and like every weekend in January preparing and planning and rehearsing and making sure that it was perfect and every word I said was perfect. I didn't do any of that. I was absolutely prepared. I spent the necessary time getting ready for it, but it didn't matter if I didn't say it exactly how I'd written down, or if I, made a mistake. I could cover up what I needed to do, and I didn't spend any weekends working on it, and it was a great success. And we had a fantastic sales meeting. So I think it's a combination of multiple things. They're just a few of them.
I love that. I love what you said about, you used to think success was measured on activities when now it's measured on results. And I think if
Yeah,
anybody was to take one thing from this live, it is that, because if you are really able to focus on what are the results or the outcomes, what am I actually trying to achieve? The rest of it is noise, right? The rest of it is noise, right? But
yeah,
there's one thing that I would see obviously a lot with women as well. Not all women, obviously, but women like me or you who have struggled with this is especially the high achievers, right? So when you're a high achiever and you're a high performer, you get this like dopamine hit from the recognition, right? So you're constantly trying to be
yeah.
better, do better, be the best, so you get the recognition. But what happens then is you get the recognition and then very quickly that dopamine hit goes away. So it kind of inspires you to do more. So two things I'd love to know from your perspective is, you're still a high performer, like you've just won a leadership award, like you're doing incredible in work, all of that. How do remove the need for that, maybe that external validation that maybe you used to have needed? And what I mean by that is, I don't believe anyone doesn't crave external validation. I do. Of course we do. We're human. We want to connect. We want to belong. But it's when you're putting all of your worth or all of your power in someone else's hands, it's a dangerous place to be. So how did you break that part?
So I really focused on what makes me happy. And it's like, I think about it almost like I was a big car person, right? I loved like a new car and this, the joy with having a new car, but it wears off so quickly, right? So it's kind of like that, right? It's absolutely great. And of course you want to know you're doing a good job. And it's always nice to hear that you're doing a good job. But if that's the only thing that motivates you, there's going to be days where you don't do a good job, and you need to be able to reach inside and know that actually you're good enough regardless, and you don't need that external validation, and that there's something deeper inside that's actually driving you. So it's around my values, and I like it, and of course it's important, but it certainly isn't. I definitely don't crave it. It's not something that I necessarily seek out. And same way as like, I don't really need a new car every year anymore. Like it's,
Did you not, hang on, did you not just get a new car
well,
last
that's
year?
the 2 year old, and it was last year. I mean,
Okay,
I still like them,
we
but
won't
it's
talk about
not.
that.
The novelty goes very
It
quickly
does.
if it's things or external people. The novelty does wear off pretty quickly.
Yeah, 100%. And I remember, obviously in 360, we focus a lot on mindset. And I think that's foundational, right? Like it's foundational to really understand yourself. And I remember when I did my coach training, it was a question I do ask you guys this sometimes if we're doing deep reflective sessions or things like that. But who are you without the work? Like, who are you
Yeah,
without the title? And I love one thing that you do, Suzanne, and I've noticed it consistently, is you always introduce yourself first as a mother. You don't give your job title. So you're here right now in a professional capacity, semi-professional capacity, talking about, your leadership, but you start with, I'm a mother. And I love that about you because it makes me know that you don't have to come in and, talk about the title. Whereas sometimes, maybe in the past, I don't know, maybe you would have, because I think a lot of us do. So how
yeah,
did you, the identity shift for you? What's so interesting to me is you now don't need the validation or the recognition as much, but you get it anyway. So you're getting it, but you're not like seeking
yeah.
it out, which is like a bit of a paradox.
I think I was almost so the opposite, I would say, Lucy, in that I didn't feel deserving of the position that I had within the company. So I never would have, I would have said what I do, but I never would have used my title because I didn't feel that I was worthy enough for the position that I had.
Mm.
So I think the shift for me now is I use my title, but it's because I'm confident and I own it, and I know I deserve the position that I have. But the most important thing to me is my family. So that's who I'm going to introduce myself as first. Is I'm a mom, and I also have the opportunity to work with this amazing team and have a great job. And yeah, but it
Yeah.
always starts with what's the most important.
Love this. Oh my God, guys, I hope you're all taking inspiration from this. So, you spoke earlier on, Suzanne, about obviously you're very protective and structured of your time, and I'm exactly the same, and boundaries and prioritization and all of that stuff, which is like critical. But boundaries can be challenging, right?
Yeah.
Setting those boundaries can be challenging. So, what advice would you give to women listening who find it hard to set boundaries? First of all, let's talk about team first, because I think it's different for different who
Yeah.
depending on who it's with.
So I am super transparent with my team. And when I actually took over my current role, like one of the first things I did was new leader assimilation. And I was very clear that these are my boundaries. I said, guys, I get up at 5 every morning because I like the morning. I'm a morning person. So I get up at 5. So I'm going to be on emails. I don't expect you to answer. Don't answer. A lot of people don't like getting up at 5. Totally fine. But you're also probably not going to get me from the hours of 6 to 8 because I'm going to be doing family stuff. There'll be some activity, there'll be dinner. And then I might pop on later in the evening, but don't like guarantee that that's going to happen. But you'll always get me between the hours of 5 and 7. And then during the day, obviously, I'm always available. I don't work weekends unless it's an absolute emergency, and there's very few emergencies. And I also really try to minimize what I do on holidays. So I really try to instill that, and say, and I have the same expectations of my team. Like, I don't expect them to be working 16-hour days. I expect them to deliver on their results, and we all have KPIs. And as long as they're delivering, then they decide what works for them and they deliver the way that works for them. The other thing that I've also really focused on is, there used to be this, I guess, perception that multitasking was a sign of strength. I actually see it as a sign of a lack of focus. So, things like multitasking, digital hygiene, I have zero notifications. So I have to purposefully go in and check if I have a text message. I have my husband as like an emergency contact. So if he rings, it bypasses everything else. But I don't have Teams pinging me. I don't have emails pinging me. I don't have, because it's just so distracting. So you have to just focus on what you need to achieve and spend the right level of time doing that.
Love that. Oh my God. Yeah, such a game changer. I'm the same with
Yeah,
the notifications. How anybody can work with pings, like you just can't.
I
But
love
I
that.
think sometimes people are, afraid to look like if they're unavailable, that they're, I don't know, like skiving off or not working if they're not on Teams, or, especially let's say with your superiors. I find a lot of the time, what would you say to people who find it difficult to say no to above, or to really challenge the above? Because sometimes our superiors don't actually know what else we're working on, and like the impact this request is going to have, really. Like, so how would you recommend people handle that?
I'm fortunate that I've always had incredible leaders. And I'm super fortunate. My current leader is absolutely incredible. I was actually out for dinner with her last night, and she said to me, we were just chatting about general things, and she said, "You really do have a good balance." And the old Suzanne would have taken that as an insult, like, I'm not doing enough, or I need to work more, I need to put more hours in. And now I think, you know what? That's actually the best compliment you could have given me, because I know I'm getting the results that you expect, and I'm able to do it in a way that is healthy and shows good role model leadership. Now, I did, when we started working together, I did say to her that I do have, some pretty strong boundaries around like weekend working, and like, I'm not going to respond at weekends, but I'll be on at 5 a.m. on Monday morning. So if you send me something, she works weekends, I don't. So she sends me something on a Sunday, I'll respond at 5 a.m. on a Monday morning. As long as you're really clear that this is how you work and this is how you're most effective, most leaders are going to respect that. I mean, I totally respect when my team say to me, I have to go and pick up my son from football at 5:30. So I'm not going to be on a call that starts at 5. Okay, that's fine. We'll work around that. So I think you just have to be honest about what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And again, if
Yeah.
you get results, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and I think it's even I think it's having the courage to remind, like, if you're not as fortunate, Suzanne, to have an incredible leader, who's your boss, and you have somebody who's not, and who maybe is a bit of a micromanager, or who has a fear. Like, I've worked for bosses who have been like, tyrants going around the place, because they're trying to, like, not allow certain things to trickle up, and like it's all of this pressure that is kind of being pushed down. It's a horrible place to be, and you're kind of going. But I think I find what's effective in managing people, like micromanagers or pressure people who put pressure on you, is just to make them feel like you're clear on the goals and the outcomes that they're trying to get you to achieve, like your KPI, you're solving this problem, and make them feel safe that, hey, listen, if I can't make this call today, don't worry about it, because I'm going to solve this problem this way. I think, back to back meetings and calls they're just the worst use of time for teams, because you're usually going around in circles, right? So I think it's about challenging yourself in that space. So I'd love to talk as well. I know, you talk a lot about, work-life balance, work-life blend. And, you mentioned earlier that, you do 5 o'clock, you're available at certain times. And I think one of the biggest misconceptions, I think, with work-life balance is, work-life balance is not about I work from 9 to 5 and then I have the perfect life in the evenings. For me,
No.
balance is about a feeling within you that you're feeling energized most of the time. Of course, we're going to be tired. That you're not burned out. That you're feeling joy in your work, and that you have time for the things that you love in life. For some people, that might be working 12 hours a day. Everybody is totally different. So, how do you? Uh, I know you have a bit of a beef with the word balance, right? Even though you've said
Yeah.
it a couple of times. I noticed, Suzanne.
I do.
um,
I do. I know it's a word that people.
Everyone does, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I try not to use it, but it's slipped in a few times. It's I don't like the whole concept of it being like up and down, like a seesaw, like a balance that, you've got, as you said, 9 to 5 work, then you've got like your evening, you've got your weekends, and because it doesn't work like that. There's times when work is absolutely insane, and that's okay, right? You know that you have to put in the hours that you need to get it done, but then there's other times where you'll need to prioritize family things, and it's about that whole blend of your entire life. And the thing that actually I thought about on last Friday, I knew that I had accomplished strong work life blend when I didn't even know it was a Friday. When you don't even know it's a Friday, then you can say, I'm not living for the weekends. I'm just living my life. It's just another day. And that to me was kind of the epitome of work life blend, not knowing it's a Friday.
Oh, I love that. Absolutely love that. And guys, Suzanne is a living, like I've worked with Suzanne now for about 3.5 years. And like, this is consistent. Like you have been running marathons. She is present with her kids. You've moved house. You've delivered exceptional results in work. And what I love is there's so many women hopefully watching this right now, maybe in your organization or others that are more junior, and they look at executives and they go, I don't want to do that. Like all the data is showing that, this generation does not aspire the way we did. And that's an issue for us as women because, our ancestors, the women who've gone before us, fought so hard for women's rights. And I'm not a feminist, but it just pisses me off, excuse my French, if I can say that on LinkedIn, because now a lot of women leaders are not doing the things you did because they don't know another way. And as a result, the next generation, we're not going to have as many women leaders. And that's my biggest fear. So please know, guys, that it absolutely is possible. And Suzanne is living testament that it is absolutely possible. So I'd love to know, Suzanne, then obviously you've been a member of 360 Leaders Club since the start. And how has the support and the tools and the training and the coaching supported you over the last couple of years to stay on track, I guess?
Enormously. I mean, I wouldn't be here without the support that you've given and the community within 360. And there's multiple ways. So the first one is I was listening to every podcast under the sun. I was listening to Mel Robbins. I was listening to Jay Shetty. I was listening to all of the personal development podcasts you can imagine. And it's very difficult to listen to a podcast and change your life. You really need to be held accountable. I certainly did. You need to be held accountable. You need to have frameworks, practical ways of actually applying that. Because if you're just listening to it, like it's really you need more. I certainly needed more than that. So all of the tools that you have, they're super practical. They're not resource intensive. They fit into a busy life and they just make it easier. And then obviously the community is just fantastic. I've made some great friends, people I would consider now lifelong friends. And the great thing about it, I was thinking on when I was delayed coming back today, the great thing about the community in 360 is everybody is in the same boat. So everybody is someone who wants to accelerate their career, someone who, has other priorities outside of their career, and they want to make sure that they're accomplishing both. And they know that you don't have to be in touch every day of the week because we don't have time to do that. But when you do, there's just a community there that's there to lift you up and support you. So yeah, those are definitely some of the ways. And I would
Amazing.
highly recommend it to anyone who's thinking, I really am unsure whether I want to accelerate my career and I think I'm going to have to give up too much. Try this before you make that decision because there is a way.
Yeah, absolutely. There's always a way, always a way. And I'm curious, Suzanne, like obviously, you mentioned all of the podcasts and I'm the same. Like I think I'm a podcast junkie and I think I can change everything, but it's that accountability piece I think we all need. Like, I mean, I have coaches now for bloody everything because I'm like, I am not going to hold myself accountable if I don't have that support. But I'm curious, what do you think? Obviously in 360, we have the CPD leadership training, we have the group coaching, we do the bonus mindset calls, we have all the tools. What do you think is the biggest difference between what we do in 360 versus, leadership training that you might do in work?
For me, it's practical, it's honest, and it's action oriented. So I've done I've done some great leadership development programs, and they focused very much on career. And what I really like about 360 is it's about life. So it's about the ability to be able to focus on things that's going to make you a better leader, but also have a better life. So it's the balance of both of them that I hadn't found anywhere else. I found you can go one way or the other, but I couldn't find somewhere where you could work with people that had the same career aspirations as you, but also wanted that, the rest of their life to be in harmony as well, I guess.
Yeah, amazing. Because like, there's no point in having all these leadership skills. Like most of the women in 360 can, they can teach me leadership, but what's usually missing is it's the self leadership, right? It's how we
Right.
set boundaries. It's the tactical, easy things that are supposed to be easy. That unless you have a tool or a framework, you can default to old ways. And what do you think is the biggest misconception people have about joining something like 360 or actually seeking support?
There's a couple. I think the first thing is people don't invest in themselves enough. So either if you don't invest in yourself, nobody else is going to. And the investment that you put in yourself is going to bring you so much more in terms of a more fulfilled life, in terms of more time to do the stuff that you want to do, in terms of the ability to actually earn more because you're going to accelerate your career with, practical tools to do that. So people see the investment as, oh, I couldn't possibly invest in myself, I'll figure it out myself. And then they end up prolonging and never really accomplishing what they want to do. So I'd say investment is one. And then the other one is, as I said, it's you think you can do it yourself. And you can do it all alone. And leadership is lonely. I mean, as you accelerate your career, it becomes more lonely because you go from, having a lot of peers to having fewer peers. And this is a great way to a safe place that you can discuss leadership challenges, that you can learn, you can get your CPD accreditation, and you can also focus on things like nutrition and fitness and things that are just good for life in general. So it's the combination of it all.
Fabulous. I love that. And why do you think, you mentioned the investment and you mentioned, we don't invest in ourselves enough. And I don't know, I often say, I think a lot of that is an Irish thing. I don't know, maybe it's not. I think it's a woman thing as well. But who do you think, or sorry, why do you think that women in general, like we deserve to invest in ourselves? Like what has investing in yourself done for you?
So it's given me a significantly better life than before I did. So I mean, there's no price to put on that. If I hadn't invested in myself, I really actually don't know where I would have been. I was at the point where I was looking, do I need to take a demotion? Do I need to ask for a different role? Because I didn't believe that you could do it all. Um, so it's made my life significantly better, and it's worth every penny and more. And I continue to invest in different ways. And now I'm like on a fitness gig, so I've like invested in a coach, and so it's just a different way of investing, but it's all in making your life better.
Yeah. And I think I think investing in yourself, it opens up something in you. I've seen it with myself, and I've also seen it with most of the women in 360, especially who, if they haven't actually invested in themselves, there's something really magic that happens when you, for the very first time in particular, when you say, do you know what? I am going to invest this money in me. Because for me, what it did, I remember my first coach, she told me it was like 8K to work with her for 3 months. And I had never invested, not the color of that in the past. My organization would have always, luckily invested in me or whatever. And I remember it was such an alien concept for me. I was like, oh, that's a holiday, or that's like a car for my son, or like, it's such a huge amount of money. But the second I did it, two things happened. The first thing was it literally boosted my confidence instantly, my self-worth, because all of a sudden I was like, okay, I've literally put this money into me, is the first thing. And then the second thing it did was it made me go, okay, girl, you've invested in yourself. You better get the return. So I was super, super committed. And since that time, it has now opened this gateway, like you said, to investing in other things. I had a nutritionist, I had a health coach, all of these things that I never thought I deserved. And as a result, it has totally changed my life. Me, I'm all about 360-degree success, which is why we
Yeah.
call it 360 Leaders Club. It's just astounding. And I just think I want all women to know that, you deserve to invest in yourself, whether it's in 360 or something else, but please don't allow any limiting beliefs around money or not having the time or not feeling like you're good enough to hold you back. So what would you say to somebody who is sitting here thinking, okay, this 360 thing sounds great, investing in myself, okay, maybe will it work for me? Should I wait? What would you say to that person?
I would say if you're watching this and you're thinking that something needs to change, but I don't know where to start, you need to start today. Like you have to make that leap and trust it and realize that you really have nothing to lose. I mean, if you're someone who has invested so much time in your career, which is clearly why you're listening to this, you've invested so much time in your career, it's now time to actually invest in yourself as well. And I would really, really encourage you to do that. And I guarantee that you're not going to regret it. I mean, I did it for years and the sacrifice is not worth it. So hopefully if I can help one person realize that actually it is possible to have success, balance and happiness. It's taken me a long time. I'm mid-40s now, but just don't be the person that's standing in your own way. That's what I would say.
Oh, love that. Suzanne, thank you so much for your time. Guys, anyone who, wants to reach out to me about 360, please just feel free to send me a DM. We could hop on a call, have a chat through and see if it's a good fit for you. Or if you want to send Suzanne maybe a message either, I'm sure Suzanne will be happy to share
Absolutely.
anything. Once she's a busy lady now, she has her boundaries. So you might have to wait some time. I might have to fit in her schedule, but that's okay. That's what we want.
I will make time for what's important, which is helping other people. So
Oh my
yes,
God.
definitely reach out.
Amazing. Suzanne, thank you so much for sharing this. I just genuinely think you're one of the most inspirational women and leaders I know, because I know where you were before, and you're such an inspiration to your daughters who are looking at you and all the women in your organization. So thank you for taking the time to talk to us today on this. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Lucy. I appreciate the opportunity. And you, of course.
Amazing. Okay, right. Well, we'll leave it there, guys. We will talk to you later. Thanks again, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
What a powerful conversation. And what I really hope that you've taken away from today's episode is this. The goal simply isn't to become more successful, because most of you who are listening, you're already successful. The goal is to feel successful, not just as a leader, but as a mother, daughter, sister, wife, partner, friend, dog mom, whatever it is for you. It's to feel it. It's to trust yourself. It's to stop second guessing every decision, to lead with confidence, to set boundaries, to get strategic, to shift your mindset into creating impact and results and really controlling that inner critic, to be present with your family, to give yourself the time to focus on you and your health, to really enjoy the life that you have worked so, so hard to build. And I hope that that's what Suzanne's story has demonstrated so, so beautifully. It's not perfection. It's not about having everything all figured out. None of us do. I definitely don't. But when you have tools and when you stop trying to do everything alone and start investing in your own growth, that is when the magic happens. And so if you've been listening to this season and you've been finding yourself in these conversations, applications for 360 Leaders Club will be opening soon. So all you've got to do is head over to lucygernon.com/360 and you can join our waitlist. Now, the beauty of getting on our waitlist is when a spot opens up, you will be first to know, and you get an exclusive waitlist only preferential rate. Now, I screen everybody personally. It is a curated group of women just like Suzanne who have high energy, who are non-judgmental, who are really lovely, who care about not just leadership, but they care about their life as well. And it is designed for ambitious women in senior leadership in a commercial environment who want more success, more balance, and more happiness. Women who are ready to stop doubting themselves, to increase their impact and become the calm, confident, and in control leaders that they know they are. So all you've got to do is go to the show notes. You'll see the link there, or go to lucygernon.com/360. Next week on the show, we are wrapping up this season, and I cannot wait to share the 5 signs that you are good enough to lead at senior level, and you always have been. So until then, same time, same place. Bye for now.